Verse 19, when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus walking on the sea and coming near the boat, and they were frightened. Okay, so 3 or 4 miles now, we don't know. Here again, it's not stated. 3 or 4 miles, like a 4, so ESV use American miles kind of idea. 3 miles would be nearly 5 kilometers. 4 would be 6 something, just over 6 kilometers, right? So it doesn't state, so okay, they rowed, no sails involved, right? So it doesn't state in which direction did they row. Did they row straight across to get to the other side, or did they row kind of a little bit with like a northeasterly, northwesterly kind of direction, or a southwesterly kind of direction? Again, we don't exactly know. You would kind of expect for them to wait for Jesus, to expect him to come to them, that they would have stuck to the side maybe a little bit more. But again, we don't exactly know in which direction they went. The fact is, they saw Jesus walking. Now, it wasn't like some say he was walking on the side, and so therefore, right, because they saw that Jesus was walking in the sea. Yeah, I know again, some liberals say, scholars, they say that Jesus was walking on the side, so they're keeping to the side. He was walking on the side, and then they just, because it was dark, they thought he's walking on the sea. But then this is a lie, okay, because then it's not a question of what they thought, because they saw him, or they say he walked on the sea. So if they say that they mistake, then that's a lie here, because then the Bible's lying, you can't trust any of it. That's just full stop. So you're, again, a liberal theologian, and you believe this kind of nonsense, you know, that's just nonsense, because then you can throw everything away, because you can't, if there lies in some parts, and you can't trust any of it. That's just that. Okay? It's like a person lying to you. If a person never lies to you, you can fully trust him. But if a person tells a lie here and there, you know, you're always going to have that, is he telling the truth now or not? Okay, now if a person tells more the truth than lies, you most likely will trust him a little bit more, but still, even then, you will never be sure. Okay, so just to get back to this idea. So it wasn't like just walking on the side and they just mistook him for walking on the sea. They said he walked on the sea. Okay, so if this is an honest mistake, still, then this is a lie. Okay, so he came near the boat. I mean, they could have told, like when he came near the boat, they could have told, you know, we are rowing. Okay, so we are hitting water on both sides. Right? It's not a question of we are hitting water on the one side and the other side we're hitting land or something like that, right? So he's coming near to them. So again, that clearly shows that he had to walk on. Otherwise, they are clearly lying here. Okay, the show is going to start like in now, basically. Right, and so they were afraid. Right? They were afraid. I mean, someone walks on water, except if it's in Siberia in the winter kind of idea. Always make the joke, I've driven on water. But yeah, that's a bit different because it's on ice, okay? Meter thick ice. Now, someone walking on water like this, right? It's except if there's a bridge that you can't see. Just under the water. Some say there were sandbanks and Jesus knew that, and so he could have walked on that. Again, you know, if they were like that, then the one side would have been hitting, or they would have eaten. I mean, these guys lived there, right? They knew the idea of sandbanks. I mean, they were locals, right? Going out in the sea as well. So to say the sandbanks, and they just mistook it, and he was walking a sandbank kind of idea. That's absurd. Right, and so they were frightened, which makes sense. Verse 20. But he said to them, "It is I, do not be afraid." So, it is I, do not be afraid. So he just calmed them down, said, "It's I, do not be afraid." Right? We will still get to this often, and this idea of, right? They still didn't understand, okay? They still didn't know who really Jesus was. All of this is a learning process for them. And so the saying, "It is I, do not be afraid," yeah, we will get back to that. Verse 21. Then they were glad to take him into the boat, and immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going. Okay, so they took him into the boat, and the boat was then immediately, again, we don't know. So the 3 to 4 miles, in which direction they were going. Is this now a miracle that Noah Obelix kind of, they're getting off in the back, and you know, the Obelix and Asterix kind of movies or whatever, the books, and then getting the boat fast to the side kind of idea. Again, we don't know if this is now a sign, a miracle, in other words. But John is not pointing this out as a miracle. This is stating a fact. So he got into the boat and they were on the other side. to allegorize everything here. Again, I'm not into the allegories. If it says it's an allegory, that's one thing. But to just allegorize everything, kind of like with Jesus in the storm, when he gets into your boat, you reach immediately your goal. I just read today, just reading up on this. What is the reason that Jesus did this miracle? It was like the people came up with all these allegories again from this text, got questions or whatever, right? And I mean, it's nonsense, just plain simple nonsense. You don't need to allegorize all of these things. Again, they were rowing, right? They were afraid, and Jesus got into the boat, and when they got over their fear, they were on the other side, right? So they just kept on kind of automatically rowing. The fear took over, and they just kind of rowing. Jesus kind of, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, we're all kind of sometimes like in that kind of fear where you just do something and you don't even know where you are. Okay. So it doesn't even need to be a miracle that it could just be like because of the fear and Jesus coming and doing all of this, that they were so out of it that when they got back to their senses back, they were on the other side. Okay, I think most likely that is more what is happening here than like Jesus and then they were on the other side. Okay, because we don't really see anywhere else that he did this kinds of signs or miracles or anything like that. Like he pushed boats to get to another side. So I don't think that at all. Okay. Now I just want to this is supposed to have started at 8 o'clock. There was a little bit of movement. I don't know why, but maybe just a pre-test. Okay, so here it's starting now. Just why is this? Why is this thing even mentioned? We know that John picked very clearly the miracles, right? The signs. Now, yes, it's going to play into maybe, but actually it's not even going to play in the next discussion. Not really. The feeding is going to play into the next discussion. So it's not as if you can look at the discussion and see, okay, but they're using this now, right? It's like I'm using this, everything here in the back to point out certain things, dark, light, everything I've been doing, right? You don't exactly know from that discussion why this thing took place. Does it flow from the miracle of the bread? No, the miracle of the bread leads to the next discussion. So it's a sign of that actually, right? So again, that doesn't, it is a little bit confusing. If you look at the other Gospels, it's kind of clearly used, right? It follows from and leads on, okay? But not in this case. And I just think the reason here is in this, how John was structuring everything. Remember, Jesus, they heard in chapter 4 that he had to go, the Pharisees heard that he was baptizing, so he left, okay? And that led to being able to speak. So it's like as if he's avoiding conflict, right? It's like this, he wants to be a Messiah, but he's avoiding conflict kind of idea. Okay, but he was not. It's just his time was not right. So it clearly shows there. This is the reason why he was avoiding conflict. Okay, in this case, something similar happened. There was these guys who wanted to make him the king, and so he left because that's not who he is. So he's again avoiding conflict. Now, actually, here, like in that case, avoiding kind of conflict. In this case, he's avoiding to be made something is not in the sense that they expected. So see the similarities. So they're avoiding conflict because he started baptizing, and so therefore he leaves. In this case, avoiding to be glorified, to be made king. And so therefore he left. And now ultimately then he comes back to his disciples, only those on the boat. Okay? Not to everyone, just to those on the boat. So like he left there with them, he sent them away, and he comes to them. So again, there's this, what he's trying to therefore show them, that is what I think, what he's trying to show them, is that, well, firstly, my time is not here. I'm not going to have people make me a king here on this planet because they misunderstood it. I'm not going to let them abuse who I am due to the misunderstandings. And I'm leaving them, but I'm not leaving you. I am with you because he's working with them. Okay, so the focus here is actually, so the leaving is so that he can show I'm leaving from them because they're doing it for wrong reasons, but I'm coming to you because you're doing it. So if you're on that boat, if I need to walk on the water, I'll be with you. And you see it later on in the discussions as well, where so I didn't lose any of you, right? He kept all safe. So I think that is ultimately the reason why Jesus, so they started thinking, okay, but no, he could have maybe become a king or something like that. Seemingly they didn't read the audience very well because they left. Otherwise, a guy like Judas would have been clearly more like, let's make him king. Just join the club kind of here. He didn't. So I just therefore think that Jesus didn't want the wrong thing to happen, so he left. And he wanted to show them that he's not fleeing anything, but he's actually choosing them, right? He's choosing to be with them in the boat and not to be made the king over there. That is the reason, I think, why in this case, so that it's for the disciples' sake, actually, ultimately.